All right, we are live. We're back. I'm your host, Dylan. Today we have our other co-host, Harrison. And today we have our very first guest, my good friend, Justin, who I've known for half a decade, I would say now.
Probably even longer.
Probably longer. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good, yeah.
Excited.
Ready to rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to be hanging out, talking, cracking some jokes probably, and just kind of going from there, just winging this. Is there anything you guys want to start off with the podcast?
No, I'm just super pumped to be here. It's, I think, 8 in the morning right now over here in Oregon, and woke right up and podcasting, you know. It's normally I don't start any of my mornings like this, but why not? So
Yeah.
here we are, and we got a super awesome guest on today. It's my first time meeting him. I know he has quite the story, so yeah, looking forward to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
So what are some topics that you guys want to talk about today?
Yeah, well, right before we started rolling, we were just talking about the process of getting a podcast being just how you want it and being a good conversational person, keeping people intrigued and not losing track of what you're saying. And that's just kind of where we're at, you know. We know it's not going to be perfect and we got plenty of things to work on, but we've got all the right equipment. We got an awesome guest, so we're just going to get into it. Justin, you want to tell us your story?
Yeah. How far back do you want to go? We talking middle school or?
Yeah, well, I know you and Dylan met about a decade ago, right?
Honestly, I'm trying to think of when did we meet? We were.
I was 17, so I think 2015, I would say.
Okay.
I think you were like 25,
Yep.
which is crazy because I'm 26 now.
I know it's
so.
nuts. Yeah, that is crazy that we've known each other that long, and we can talk about how we met.
Yeah.
So I was a peer recovery mentor for the Fourth Dimension Drug and Alcohol Recovery Center.
Huh.
Well, as a peer recovery mentor through Oregon, the state of Oregon, but I would take kids out from DePaul Youth Treatment Center, where Dylan was an inpatient. And I feel like when I'm most of the time, so I was in drug and alcohol recovery at that point, but it had been a long time since I had used, and I wasn't really involved in the 12-step scene, and I didn't go to meetings. I wasn't in the recovery community actively, but I went to, do you remember Winston?
What's
Winston Murray? He was the founder of the Fourth Dimension Recovery Center. So you know Tony, right?
that? Yeah.
So Tony and Winston were kind of like co-founders. But I went to, my buddy invited me to a campaign party because he was running for like local city council in Gresham or Troutdale. And he's like, come to my campaign party. And that was all he told me. And I showed up and he's like, we're going to go knock doors for me to get me elected. That was like his thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm knocking doors for you. And I just got back from being 2 years as a missionary and knocking a lot of doors. So I was like, sure. But at that party, I met, party in quotes, because it wasn't a party, he was free labor. But at that party, I met Winston, and he told me he was starting this thing called the Fourth Dimension. And I was like, oh, I used to use a lot of drugs. He's like, oh, well, you should get certified as a mentor and then come here, like, and help out with our movement. And so anyway, that's like the long-winded how I got involved with them. But I feel like when I would take these kids out from DePaul, I was not being in the community. I was like, I feel like you guys looked at me like I was like some weird, because I think I would come from church events.
Yeah, you were wearing like a full suit when I saw you, and that's when I was probably wearing like basketball shorts and like a hat, and I was just like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, and there was one kid, like one of the first couple times you might have known him. He had a bunch of tattoos, like a star tattoo on his hand. He's like a blonde kid, a really tall kid, and he was like a gangbanger, and I was like, so I was trying to sound like I knew the lingo, and he was like, yeah, these fools that used to bang on down on this street or whatever. And I was like, so when you would bang on these people, what
What does
and
that
they
mean?
laughed at me, like, because I just couldn't relate. I was not in their world. And I felt like everyone that I took out was like that, except you, really, where you and I kind of like connected, but I still didn't think you would ever call me again when you got out. And then when I was preparing for like a musical performance at school where I studied music, which is a dumb decision we can get into, but at Portland State. But you called me right before I was going on, and I was like, who's this? And you're like, Dylan, you took me out from DePaul. I was like, oh, what's up, man? And then we just kind of started meeting, and we've been meeting ever since.
Yeah, I think I remember actually. Now that you say that, I called you, and you're like, I'm busy, but just shoot me a text. I didn't think you were actually gonna text me back, but I think we ended up getting like McDonald's or something the first time, and then just met up and hung out, and it was cool. I don't know. I thought I had like a sponsor in there, but I think he didn't even care to like get to know me, hang out with me. But we had a good connection the first time we met, and you're very likable, very presentable, and
So we're in a suit.
that too. But you did freestyle when we were on our way back.
Oh man, yeah.
So
'cause
that
I was
kinda,
really into rapping. I was trying to be a rapper back then, and I was like always trying to show off my rapping chops. So
it was pretty fire though. I remember I think you said you could freestyle, and we were like, no, you can't. And you pulled over in the middle, like we were like driving, just pulled over, and then you played an instrumental, and then
Sounds like Harry Mack.
I know, and you just started going off, and me and this guy we were with, we were just laughing and going like, dude, this is crazy.
that was like my way to try and like gain rapport with these kids that thought I was just a total square.
I think that's what kind of softened you up from us, was like, because
I was like, I'm kind of hip. Like,
Yeah.
let me show you. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool that you said you like thought it was surprising that Dylan called you. Was there anything that like stood out to you about Dylan back then, or like did you see some sort of potential in him compared to like other people, or what? Like
I
what
felt
was
like
that?
he was quieter. That was like the only thing that stood. I didn't think you liked me when I took you out from DePaul. I thought you were like all the other kids who thought I was just a loser. It was like, screw this guy, but he's getting me out of DePaul, so I'll pretend like I put up with him. I don't know if some of them seemed like they liked me or not. I remember Austin kid.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like when you called me, I was honestly like, so, even though I was like, I'm busy because I was literally about to go, I was like 2 minutes from going up on stage to do this like performance with my school band. And when I hung up, I was like so excited. So I was like, I finally made some sort of an impression on someone, like I can like help. And so I was actually super excited when you called, even though I kind of cut you off, and I like obviously texted you right after. But I remember being like, I can't believe, I would never have thought that you would have called me, because you seemed so disinterested in what I was trying to like teach or whatever when I took you out from DePaul.
till this day, I still get that a lot of people, I think I just come off as that, just quiet, a little awkward. I think I have a bit of a mean look, but I tell everyone, I even got this like a few days ago by someone we met, and I'm just like, no, I just look like that. But
Wasn't that your chiropractor?
yeah,
Our chiropractor?
he even said that.
Greatest guy.
Yeah, nicest guy ever. But he said, like, I couldn't read you at first because I'm pretty good at reading people, but like you, I couldn't read if you liked me or not. And I was like, no, I swear I just look like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just a distinguished look, I guess.
That's why it was so funny when you were with Raven, because I don't know if you can cut this if you don't want to talk about Raven, but because you guys were so opposite. Like, she was so bubbly and out there, and you were like,
I think I chased that, honestly. I just like I've been in relationships before where they're a little bit awkward and weird, and I think when we're both like that, it's just too awkward and weird. But when I can kind of get someone that's more like, what's the word, like
Outgoing.
Yeah, just outgoing, loud, kind of goofy. I kind of like that more, just because I don't have to be that one. But I think there has to be one of those characters in the relationship.
yeah.
Justin, I think it's pretty cool that it seems like you consciously went out to help people who were struggling with like drug and alcohol problems, and specifically like the youth. I resonate a lot with that myself. I work with middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Nice.
not in the drug and alcohol section, but what was your initial motivation to getting into that, like, serving aspect?
Yeah, like at that point, still, like now it's a little bit more difficult with kids and, you know, little kids right now, but especially, so I had just gotten back. I was a missionary for a couple of years, and then I had just gotten back, and I was just wanting to keep that going. And it just happened when I went to that campaign party, you know, and I met Winston, that it just seemed like a perfect opportunity. And so I just jumped on it, but I was just trying to stay involved in as many things as possible because I wanted to, you know, help people.
Yeah. Is there an importance of, like, getting outside of yourself and serving other people? It seems like there's not a lot of, like, selfish aspect when it comes to things like that. In my experience, like, being able to just give freely and guide and mentor people, that's a big word I've heard whenever I hear your name to be associated with. Like, what do you think the importance is of, like, serving and giving to people who might not have the same mindset or views as you, especially the youth being so impressionable and young and possibly, like, misguided?
Yeah, something I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately, and I think that a lot of that when I was younger, like I think there's always been a side of me that just wants to be of service, like to that's like the way that I find meaning and for my life is like that I'm able to contribute to the well-being of others. But honestly, I think that there's a danger in doing it because you want to be seen as that type of person. Yeah. And I feel like there was some of that with me back then where I was like,
that takes some huge, like, self-reflection to even catch that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's, you know, because at the end of the day, the net result is people still get helped, even if someone helps them because they're, you know, they want to be seen as helpful. But I think that it almost hurt my other relationships because I would kind of flake out on my then girlfriend or my family to go do these service projects, and I realized that I wasn't, because it was so much more important to me to be seen as a service-minded person.
Wow.
That I would, if it didn't bring visibility to that aspect, then people would be kind of sidelined. And so I think that I'm trying to change that to where I want to still live a life of service, but I want to make sure that I'm conscious of, like, trying to do it because it's needed. And then I can focus on, because, like, for a long time, through the first couple of years of my marriage, I didn't consider it service if I served my wife or my child, because it's like, that's table stakes. You have to serve your family. So you have to find enough time to serve your family and serve other people. But because serving other people felt like true service, because it was after the given, of course you have to take care of your family. I would put more, if there was a conflict between the two, I would generally go for trying to be a public facing, serving someone where I would get that recognition. And so that has helped me to be a little bit more conscious of it, and like, oh yeah, like, my family needs to come first, or I need to make sure that I'm serving where it's most important to serve.
If someone who was in one of those programs that you'd volunteer at or work at was listening now and was looking to change their life for the better, maybe get out of addiction or bad mental habits, if you could speak to them now, is there anything that's on your mind that you'd like say to them?
I think that most people now have heard the saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
At least if you're in, like, the personal development space, or you're interested in personal development, you hear that. But I think that it does come down to, like, not only that, but what you're consuming, like what type of media you're consuming. Like you just sort of absorb. We're like sponges. Like we just absorb whatever we watch or witness or
Yeah,
spend
especially in
our
the
time doing.
21st century.
Yeah, and I think being careful with, like you will, and then I think service is a good antidote for that. Where, especially nowadays, I feel like we're so obsessed with self-care and focusing on ourselves and being, like I need to take care of myself. And I think the best way to take care of yourself is focusing on others, because it naturally sort of puts your own problems in perspective, and they're most of the time not as big of a deal as you think they are when you're hyper focused on them. So I think it just like minimizes your own problems to try and make your life about, serving others.
Yeah, something me and Dylan wanted to definitely make clear to anyone who listens to our podcast that we record is like, we don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
We are so far from perfect, and we don't want to come on here with any sort of like cockiness or arrogance in a negative way. We've had challenges in very imperfect lives, and we hope to use those lessons that we have from our past to be able to help other people going through similar situations, or just be someone to listen to, like it's not just the 5 people you hang around, like you were saying, it's also like the 5 people you listen to. What are you consuming? Let's see, I lost my train of thought a little bit. I was going somewhere with that.
And this is stuff you can cut, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got it. What are like some of the challenges you've had in your past, or things that you've had to overcome to help you become a better person?
I think, I think some of the biggest struggles that I've had have mainly been internal, where I'm worrying too much, or I'm focused too much on trying to make sure that everything's perfect before I go out and do something. And I think that getting out of my own way and just getting started has been helpful. I don't know, like, and what context you're looking for an answer in, but like that has been, at least recently, just what I've been focusing on.
Yeah, I know before we started rolling and I was getting to know a little bit about your story, you were talking about app development. I don't know if this is something you wanted to put out there, but it kind of reminded me of that, what you're saying about like looking for perfection before taking action. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Like, so I, a couple years ago, I spent a lot of time in sales in my 20s because I didn't really think.
Us too.
Yeah, and I felt like I wasn't qualified. Like, my sister went on to be a nurse, and then a nurse practitioner, and then a successful business owner. My brother went to pharmacy school and became a pharmacist, and I studied music because I went to college for music because I wanted to be a musician, and that right there is an example of like just deeply a sense of like low self-confidence that I could go out and do something without being in an institution. Because like most people, they want to be a rapper, like Harry Mack.
Yeah.
Like Harry Mack, he is from Portland. He studied jazz drums.
Did you know that, Dylan?
I didn't know that.
Wow.
He studied jazz drumming, and I am from Portland. I studied jazz at school, and then I went and became a data analyst, where he went on to live his dream. Anyway, I went to be a door-to-door salesman, and then he like went out. So I feel like I thought I had to be in a school that would help me become a musician, whereas he's out on the street corner with a video camera, just freestyling for random people. Like, he went for it, and then he kept going for it, and just figured it out as he went. I've always been one of those people that's just like terrified of, like, what if I fail?
Yeah.
I can't put myself out there. It's too painful. When I have failed or fallen on my face, it's been too painful, and it's taken me too long to recover from it. And I've always felt like breakable.
Yeah. That was totally something we were talking about before we hit record. Like, we've all heard analysis paralysis. You know, you just kind of like overthink. You look at every single possibility, every single area, and try to make it perfect before you just act. And that was a big struggle we had with this podcast, is trying to make it perfect. But we're like, hey, we're imperfect, and I think you're able to resonate with your audience a little bit more too if you're not afraid to show those like imperfections and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will, I'll get to the app in a minute, but like that, you're kind of reminding me of some things that I haven't really thought about in a while, which is there's have you guys seen the movie Green Street Hooligans?
No.
I have not.
It's such a great movie. It's about this guy that moves to England, and he kind of gets involved in a really fanatical soccer gang. And they go to every of their professional soccer team for their city. They go to every game, and then they get in fights with the other team's gang after and it's like a real thing.
So they're actually getting in like
They like bad street fight, and that's like their whole purpose in life. They're like gangs. They're like legit gangs. But it's a movie about that, and in the movie, like one of the best quotes is, "Everyone feels like they're made of glass until they take their first punch, and they realize that they're not." And so it's like, until you get out there and you get an opportunity to get punched in the mouth, like you never really know if you're going to be able to withstand it. And I had a couple of experiences throughout my life that I did kind of put myself out there. And like I was trying to be a rapper when I was younger, and I did it with another kid, and he was one of those just go out and do it, and he didn't think too much he didn't overthink things, and I was the opposite. And we went to this guy's birthday party. It was like a cool nightclub birthday party. It wasn't like balloons, but we performed a song that we had written, and I had like finished writing it the day before, and I was all cocky. And then I forgot the words in front of like 40, 50 people. And,
oh man!
And
there
I was
no,
like,
words like on the screen.
This was like a warehouse with like dark lights. And
this isn't karaoke.
No, this is like, this guy was a musician. My buddy was friends with him, convinced him to let us play because we were like, he sang and I rapped, and we were gonna try and do this thing. And I actually have like not thought about this moment for a while because it was such a painful moment. And we practiced it the day before, and he's like, "Do you want to run it a couple more times?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine." And I was all cocky. And then I went out and I failed. And I asked them, "Can you restart the song? I'll get in it again." And they're like, "No, we're not going to restart it." And it was so embarrassing. It was like one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And from that, I took it and I was like, that was like when I got punched in the mouth, and I felt like I was made of glass. I was like, I can't recover from this. And I told myself that I couldn't. And then I didn't try hard things from that on for a couple of years.
Wow.
And so anyway, getting back to I feel like some people, they tell themselves, like they get out, they go out of their comfort zone, they try something new, or they try to do something, bigger with their life, and then they fall on their face, and then they recede back into their shell and never come out again. And I think that I have had to do a lot of, I don't really know what it is that has caused me to just decide to try again. I think it's probably just little baby steps towards it, to where I finally sort of decided, I'm going to go for it again. But anyway, that's led me to building this app, which actually now I think I do know. I think I do know the thing that has helped me sort of regain my confidence is I was so concerned with doing things perfectly or not at all that when I would try something and fail, like that musical performance, I would equate that to who I am. And I'll be like, you are a failure. You are someone who chokes under pressure.
Wow.
And man, I'm like gaining a lot of realizations right now from I've never really spoken about any of this to anyone. So this is actually super insightful to me. But doing the thing and then teaching, well, really what was the turning point for me was starting to learn to code. Because I always thought, okay, I need to be a front man, I need to be charismatic, I need to start a business, or I need to be famous rapper or whatever to make a difference in this world. And I realized that that's just not really who I am. And then I started learning programming, computer programming, which is like totally nerdy. No one cares about it.
Yeah.
But that was the first time where I was like, oh, there's a different way to get to where I can get punched in the face and realize I'm not made of glass, or I can like keep moving forward and keep growing and fall on my face and have the courage to keep getting up. And so for me, it was, okay, I don't have to be a salesperson or an entrepreneur type to be able to learn a new skill. And for me, it like all boils down to mastery, where I'm trying to master being a programmer and building this app that I've been working on for the past couple years, and actually developing a skill that is like not everyone can do right now. It's like there's a higher barrier to entry, has been the thing that's kind of given me the confidence to be like, oh, I can do hard things. I just have to keep putting it together. And I just finished development on my app yesterday, literally yesterday.
Wow.
And the thing that I noticed is the past couple months, I wanted to quit because I've been getting close to the end, and those old thoughts of like, you're not. Whenever I get close to finishing something, I want to quit.
Wow.
And I think it's because I'm getting close to the point of putting myself back, getting out of that shell again. I'm like, okay, it's almost done. I'm gonna now have to put it out into the world and have people judge it, and maybe I'm gonna get punched in the face again and realize I'm actually made of glass, and then I'm gonna crawl back on my shell for another 5 years.
Wow.
But I've realized that I actually finished it, and now I'm like, no, I'm different than I was 5 years ago. I'm different than I was 10 years ago. Like, I actually have changed and grown, and I was just too scared to put myself back out there. But now, like, for whatever reason, finishing this app, I've realized, like, oh, I actually got past the other end of that finish line, and now I've realized that I can do it. I'm probably talking too much, but that's kind of...
No, it's totally beautiful. It's funny when you were bringing up you being on stage and kind of choking, kind of like that Eminem 8 Mile moment. It brought me back to when I was in 5th grade and 6th grade. I was really good at spelling bees, like really good. And I like in front of like 300-400 people. In front of the whole school, like I just like crush each word and just like boom, go up and up and up. And it was that way with like, we'd do like weird multiplication math tests. I could answer like any multiplication question like that, like a calculator. But same thing for the spelling bee. I was just crushing it. I got like 2nd or 3rd place the first time. And then my first year of middle school, when it was a spelling bee, they started off with like warm-up rounds. Like it was like at first, like it was just like, all right, go up and like spell your name, and then like next round it was just like really simple words like dog, house, or laptop or something. And my word, it was bat, B-A-T.
Oh,
and
wow.
I went up there with just so much confidence, like, all right, I'm gonna crush this. Like, here I go. I spelt the word bat wrong. I was under that much pressure. I think I spelt cat or like dat or something. And I just remember the host of it just looking at me. Her face just like dropped. It was like, like people were laughing, and like it just started crying. It was terrible, but totally. I laugh about it now. It's funny. I remember on the way home too, my mom just like poking fun at me, like bat, come on. I'd get all mad at her and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty great. So in terms of like life fulfillment and becoming a better person and living in your truth, what's your own version of success or living in truth? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I don't really know. I actually have never liked live your truth. I don't know. I feel like it's like the definition of truth is the way something was and will always be. That's like from anyway, but so your truth, technically, if it's your truth or my truth, that makes it relative, and it's like the definition of truth is that it should be absolute. And so I actually have always taken issue with that. I don't know if I think it's just semantics. It's just people are trying to say something. They don't really mean there's no absolutely true things, but I think for me, what it comes down to is I want to. It's like that rocking chair moment where you look back on your life and you're sitting on a rocking chair. You're 80 years old. Like what do you want to be remembered for? And I think it's become more and more my family as time has gone on. I have 2 children now, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I think showing them that, like, I think a lot about my grandfather, and he was influential on. He had 8 children. Him and my grandmother had 8 children. And they had, like, each of their kids had 5 kids, 3 to 4 kids. And then, so it's like a really big family. And the impact that he has on me as just one of many grandchildren, because of the way that he lived his life, of just like, he was always trying to make people laugh. He was always willing to go help people. He was always there to take care of his family. And I've seen that in my dad, to try to live up to, like, to try to be like Grandpa. And then everyone in the family, like, it's a point of pride if you're ever compared to Grandpa Leo.
Yeah,
And
that's beautiful.
he was just a really cool guy. And I feel like the generations, like the total number of people that he's going to affect by just the way he lived his one life is really, really strong. And he never made more than $24,000 in a year. And he was just like, he didn't work like a super fancy job, but if you look at, like, people who maybe have been more worldly successful, if they might not have that deep of an impact on the number of people that he eventually will through his generation. So I don't know, I feel like I want to live as an example to my children so that they can see he's willing to put himself out there. He's willing to fall on his face and get back up. And it's like that Rocky quote I think I've sent you, Dylan, where it's like, life is undefeated. It's never it always wins. It's always going to kick you down, and it doesn't matter how many times or how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep going. And so, like, I feel like
That's awesome.
That's more and more what I'm trying to live about.
You got? Well, yeah, going back to, like, long term, looking back at your life, that's kind of what I got when you were telling me about your family and that sort of thing, and your admiration for your grandpa. For me, sometimes when I'm feeling really lazy, whether that's skipping a jiu-jitsu class or a boxing class, I always go back to, like, how am I going to feel if I don't do this? And how am I going to feel afterwards? So sometimes it could be really useful thinking about your end goal after completing something, how you will feel or will not feel if you don't do it.
Yeah, I think I've thought a lot about this topic. It's like the theme of my life has been like the glass analogy. Like, I've felt like I was very fragile. I had a very fragile sort of self-esteem. And whenever I've gotten cocky and then I've fallen on my face, it's taken me a really long time to recover from it, because I'm just like, I just equate it to, you are that failure. No matter how much, like, you'll hear fail fast, fail often, failure is your friend, like all those things that you hear if you're into personal development, it's still hard to, like, pick yourself back up sometimes. And I think that for me, I'm losing my train of thought, but getting to the point where failure is not, like, I'm how do I put it? Failing is, it's like the incoming, like, picture like you're at the ocean and the tide is coming in. It's like the tide comes in a little bit, but the waves are like coming in and out, but the tide is constantly getting further and further up with an incoming tide. And I feel like if the more that I've been able to see, if I fall on my face, or I am not good at something right away, or I embarrass myself, it's just like a wave coming in. Like, the wave coming in could be my big moment where I do really well and I gain a lot of confidence. And then the wave going out could be when I'm not as cool as I thought I was. I made a big mistake. I looked stupid when I tried to do something. I got too cocky. but overall the ocean is still coming further and further up. Like I'm still making progress, even though it's like ebbs and flows, like it's coming in and going out. And so getting to the point where I can accept those moments where I feel down is it doesn't mean that I'm a failure or I'm not good enough. It's just the way that it doesn't progress isn't linear. It's not always going to be constant. It's going to be ups and downs. And
Kind of like a stock chart.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's like getting to the point where I can just accept that that's part of it. Like you're not just going to always, it's not like when you see a motivational movie, you tend to see them have their big down where they want to give up and everything's going bad, and then they pull it together and have their meteoric rise and they're just like, they're a rock star now. It's like, it probably took like 100 of those ups and downs that were much smaller and less dramatic, and they've condensed it into one big down and one big up to make the movie 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like I've very much bought into that, where I'm like, here's my big down. Okay, I'm gonna rally from it and I'm gonna rise, and then I fail again. I'm like, that's not the way it happens in the movies. I'm a loser. I'm never gonna. And then I just go back into these downward cycles instead of being like, no, it's just part of it. It's ups and downs.
Yeah,
a lot more ups and downs than we're led to believe by watching a hero movie or something.
The hero's journey. Yeah.
And it's like the hero's journey repeats itself over and over in really small patterns instead of one big up or one big down and one big up like you would expect. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I've told myself is just keep moving forward.
I'm curious to know what your guys' favorite motivational sayings are.
One of mine has always been respect the process, which is funny because I don't respect the process with what I've been talking about. Like I fail and then I want to quit, or I just like think I'm a loser. But that seek to understand before being understood was something that my mentor told me, rest in peace, a lot. And I think that was it. Too much nowadays. We want to be the expert. Everyone wants, and that's what I like about the way you guys frame this podcast. Is like we don't have to be the experts right now. It's okay to say that you don't know, or it's okay to say that you're not the best at this yet, and that doesn't mean that you have to stop doing it. So I think trying to understand, like, we see it as weakness to try to understand people before being understood, and we always want to be the one that's like being understood and making our will known and all that.
I've learned that in car sales actually, because I remember a lot of people would say if you don't know the answer in car sales, don't make up a lie and just say you do. And I used to in the beginning because I was so new and just so nervous. I got in car sales because I was just so nervous at talking. And yeah, one thing would be I'd try to just make up stuff where like I could have an answer for it, but it never worked. It never ever worked. So some of my managers would say, if you don't know an answer, say I can get you an answer for that. Let me like find out for you, and it always worked more successfully. So it's like trying to do things you don't know how to do in certain genres, I guess, would not really work. So I liked what you said about that.
Yeah, that's good. For me, a couple things I've been like living by, just in like the present moment, something I've been saying to myself, it's just like you win some, you lose some. Like, and typically I'll remind myself, like when I take a loss or something bad happens, it's just like that, hey, it is what it is mindset. You know, you control what you can control, and what you can't control, you just let it be. Another thing that I just live my life through, I have it tattooed on my right bicep. You can't see it now, I'm wearing a hoodie, but it just says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Just, you could do anything you put your mind to, and you have the total strength to do it. And if you're feeling down or oppressed or you can't do it, you just gotta like slap that little baby voice out of you and just keep going.
Yeah, easier said than done. But
what about you, Dylan? I know you're a big quote guy and stuff. Is there?
Yeah, I have like 100 quotes in my phone.
Yeah, what comes to your mind?
My favorite one of all time is always this. I always say this, but the one saying, I forget who says it, but it's like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Because
Man, that's good.
if you think you can't do it, you know, you can't because you believe it. But, you know, I'm someone that thinks I can do that. So I always try to just go into any situation I'm in, just thinking I can do this, I can win at this, I can do this. So, and then people that doubt themselves, yeah, you can't do it because you're already self-doubting yourself and you're not gonna be able to push yourself through that. It's like if I said I'll never learn how to surf, you know, you already manifested it for yourself because you're not trying, you're doubting yourself, and that's just gonna, you know, kill your dreams. But
I think the quote you brought up, I don't know if he's the originator of it, but in 2019, I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I remember reading that quote. I think it's from Henry Ford, back when he was creating the V8 engine. He had, I believe, the V6 at the time, and he was telling his manufacturers, like, we're going to make the V8. And they're like, no, like, mechanically, this is, like, impossible. There's no way that this can be done. It's never been done before. And I think he just kind of left them with that mic drop. He's like, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Like, it's simple as that. There's no need to overthink it. But I think that's great. That's a really good one, Dylan.
I also really like another one of mine, which comparison is the thief of joy. Because if you're just going to sit there in life comparing yourself to others, saying you're not good enough, or like they got it easy, or stuff like that, you're just going to always backtrack and stay in the shell that you are in and the negative headspace. So comparing yourself, because like we're in the 20th century where we're seeing 19-year-olds driving Lamborghinis in Miami with bank accounts bigger than the average person. So I think it's just comparing. You can't compare yourself. You just can't care. I actually saw a video of Trump a few weeks ago where someone's like, how do you like survive with all like the negative media, all the negative things people say about you? And he just says, you just can't care. He's like, if you always care and you're just gonna, it's just gonna bring you down, but you can't care. So I've tried to live a life where, you know, I get a lot of doubt and negative things in my life, but you just can't let it get to you. You have to just pretty much like own it. Like, be like, I don't care. That's cool. Like whatever.
That's great.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you. That's you, like having the success that you've had with your car business has been really big for me to like continuing the app, like not giving up on it and starting something new, like seeing it to the end. I've looked to you a lot with your landscaping business, and then with the car stuff. Like he just goes out and does it, and then he keeps doing it until he starts to get success. And like, I know you're going to be the same way with the podcast because that's just the way you operate. I don't know you as well, Harrison, but I've seen
I think you're spot on with that assessment of Dylan. That's why he's my best friend.
Yeah.
I've just been someone that can't live like the ordinary life. I've always wanted more, even as a kid. I just was so energetic when it came to like, and that's why I struggled so bad in school. And a lot of people say that now. Like when I watch like motivational speakers, they always just say like the kids that don't really like want to learn in school always want to like learn like their own way. And that's kind of like what I think a boss is. That's someone that took action to start a business. They like learned their own way and wanted to create their own success themselves rather than working their way through a company to get there. But I've always wanted to take that step to like make myself successful, not make someone else successful. And yeah, I think it's just taking action. I've always wanted more and greater things in life, and just go and take it. I also want to live a life of just the unordinary, and just I've always wanted to be like the most unique person and remembered as like the craziest. Like right now I'm doing scuba lessons in like a couple weeks, and I'm like, it's so random, but it's so fun. I just want to just do everything in life and like not have any regrets, I guess. Yeah. But podcasting for me is like, I love podcasts. I listen to them every night. I think they're cool. You can learn a lot. It's just kind of like all three of us like motivational speaking. This is a different kind of way, I guess, a longer version. Yeah. But I think we can motivate others and have fun with it. And me and Harrison have gotten a lot of good feedback from some people that listen to us, which is the motivation to keep doing this.
Yeah, no, that's always great. I know we had a few people, like, when you start out with anything, there's always, like, that one or two people that are like, when's your next episode coming? Or, like, I love your stuff, or I love this part. And that's always really meaningful when you're first starting out. And another big thing is just, like, inspirations, too. Like you were talking about, comparison can be the thief of joy if you allow it to. I think there's a special thing about admiring people and looking at their greatness. Like there's a few speakers that we were even talking about before this. For me, people that I look up to as role models, people like Ed Milet, people like Tony Robbins or David Goggins, people like that. Or no, they're all really great, and they know their why, their purpose, and they speak with just such a conviction and authority. It's inspirational, and that's something I definitely want to be like. Justin, I know you knew a couple of those names that I brought up. Are there a few of your top 3 creators or speakers? And I also wanted to ask like why you like them.
Man, I think Tony Robbins is probably number one.
Yeah, he's an OG, man.
Because I've been for a long time. I've been a Tony Robbins fan. In 2017, I read his book, Money Master the Game.
Yeah, it's a big book.
It's a big book.
Big book.
I think I actually listened to part of it, but yeah, it took me like a couple years to get through it because
Wow.
it was like I was so unfamiliar with the financial terms. But that sort of sparked an interest in investing, which has sparked an interest in trying to learn, data science, which is what I do now for work, and app development, which is my app is a crypto investing app.
Wow.
Well, it's like kind of loosely based on investing, but all of that sort of stemmed from like Tony Robbins, really. And then as a sales rep, I listened to Personal Power 2 by Tony Robbins, which if you haven't, it's like a 30-day program. Have you done it?
I've listened to the YouTube videos.
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
The cuts
It's
of
like-
it. I was obsessed with him for like a good year.
Yeah.
Just like every day listening to him.
He's great.
yeah.
Oh man, it has been so coming back to the being fragile like glass analogy that I've been kind of been a theme throughout my life. Like Tony Robbins has helped me with that more than probably anyone, because this Personal Power 2 is like a 30-day program. I actually bought the cassette tapes
Wow.
on eBay,
Huh.
and I bought a cassette player so that I could make it like this special thing that I did at, after everyone went to bed. I would take out my little cassette player and I would press play on it, and it was like super old school. And he makes you do, it's like an hour process every night for 30 days.
Wow.
And it's to like jumpstart your life. And it's essentially 45 minutes of like a lesson that he gives, and then a homework step that you have to do right then. And his whole thing is like, right, take massive action now. And as someone who always wants to like plan everything from the beginning and not start doing until I can map out everything, like that was so helpful for me. One, the lessons that he teaches, and two, just like the doing. And so you can cater it to any endeavor that you're doing. And for me, it was a specific sales season. And I did it at the start, and then it just like, it was so helpful. I don't know how to describe it without doing it, but that really made a big impact on me.
Yeah. What do you think his secret is to being so effective? It's almost like he has a gift of just simplifying things in a way that makes sense, but he has such a huge following, and on top of that, he has results too. I know for myself, members of my family, like he's able to make that change.
I think that he's really good at learning, first off. And I think that he's really into mastery. And like he talks about the difference between the dabblers and those who seek mastery. And I feel like our generation is full of dabblers, people who start something and they do it for a little bit. And there's always like an initial excitement when you do something new. And as soon as that wears off, they abandon it and they go to something else because they're trying to chase that new, this is new and exciting feeling, as opposed to staying with something for the long haul, which again, that's something that I've struggled with, and why I'm so happy that I was able to finish this app, because it was exciting at the beginning, and then it started to get really, really tedious, and like it just takes a long time, and getting to the point where you can actually get to the other end of that and have a finished product when you've stuck with you've gotten past the fun initial part and you stay with it. I think that he's a really good example of like, he's gone so deep with personal mastery and teaching that to others that he's not getting too wide and shallow. He's like focused and deep on this one thing that he's dedicated his life to, like teaching people how to empower themselves. So I think that's what sets him apart, is the mastery element. He learns everything he can about this thing, and he stays obsessed with this one thing, even after it, like initial excitement about a new project wears off.
Yeah, cryptocurrency, it's like a huge word that's being thrown around right now. And I know I've dabbled in it a little bit myself in the past, and currently I have some in there now. Why is it such like a big word right now? And like like, what would you say to people who say like, oh, it's just a scam or a Ponzi scheme, things like that? Like, I'm actually trying to understand. I'm a total crypto newbie, and
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2018. I bought a Bitcoin, and then I bought one for $8,500.
Wow. And this is
at the
what
time,
year?
this was in February of 2018.
Wow.
And I bought it for $8,500. Everyone thought I was so dumb for buying it, but I had done some research and I felt like I really was onto something. I thought $8,500 was like super expensive, but I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And so fast forward a couple years, I sold it I made like 40K on it. And then, no, it doesn't. This is not a success story. This is a cautionary tale.
Okay.
I made 40K on it. I then took that and started getting into more and more risky cryptocurrencies because I was chasing that. I was like, I made 40K. I can be. And then this is another one of those examples. Like, my life has just been a pattern of getting too cocky and then being humbled and taking a long time to recover. But I started getting into NFTs and all this stuff, and like, it's just the Wild West, and I lost probably about half of it.
Wow.
And then I invested in a bunch of other I took all the earnings from that Bitcoin, and I spread it around a bunch of cryptos that just tanked for years up until recently. And so I would say it is a very, very risky thing to get involved in. But if you stay away from like what I did wrong, which is why I built the app. The app is essentially, it tracks Twitter, crypto Twitter. So I wrote X now.
That's super smart.
Yeah. I also did want to give you like an opportunity to share about your app for being like as awesome as hopping on our podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you want to do your promotion thing or whatever, if that's something you want to do.
Sure. Yeah. I don't really have like like I said, just finished the development of it yesterday, but I built it because I saw that I couldn't trust myself to not get too caught up in the hype the last time crypto was big. So this was like 2021, 2022. And I got swept up in it because I started thinking, okay, I've got to follow every big name on Twitter. I've got to scroll through, I spend hours every day scrolling through all their tweets, seeing if they're talking about the next big thing. And if enough of them talk about it, then I've got to go buy it now. And I was like, I got super involved in all that. And it's so overwhelming that you end up doing very little research on these projects before you buy in because you're so worried that you're going to miss the train.
FOMO.
And FOMO is so bad in crypto. And especially if you get sucked into these like Twitter or whatnot, and you're just like, there's so many different voices pumping so many different projects, and a lot of them might be total just like hype. And so the app is basically a way to stay off of Twitter, and it scrapes Twitter for you, and it tells you what people are talking about, and it gives you the number of times it's been tweeted about, and an AI generated mood score.
Wow. So
like how positive or negative they are. Still, like, that doesn't make crypto completely riskless. Like, anything that it's not investment advice, like, do your own research. But the goal that I'm hoping to build out that's what the app does right now. Eventually I want to build it to where it can kind of show you what people are talking about, and then if you want to learn more about a specific project, you can click into it, and then it'll do a lot of scraping and pull together a summary the most important things about the project that you would want to know before like
Does it
potentially buying it.
filter out like negative things? Is that what I was like hearing you say?
It's just all that it really is right now
Uh-huh.
is it looks at a couple hundred known crypto influencers on Twitter
Uh-huh.
that have 400,000 followers or more. So it's trying to weed out the people that are just shilling these
Gotcha.
like random
Yeah,
projects.
yeah.
And then if there are enough, say there's like 5 to 10 people that are all talking about this one project, then I might double click on that and it'll take me to either the tweet accounts or the Twitter accounts themselves, and I can read what they're tweeting, or it'll take me to the coin market cap, which is like where all the coins are listed, and I can start to do research on them. But the goal for me is to kind of give people a way to stay out of it as much as possible so you don't get sucked into the FOMO.
Yeah.
Kind of see what people are talking about and then selectively pick the things that are interesting to you and then start to do really diligent research on those things before you buy in, so you don't get sucked into, oh, I've got to buy every new thing and I've got to try and, you know, not miss the train on all these. So like that's kind of where it's headed, but I've got bigger plans for building out all of the research part of it.
Yeah, some of the greatest businesses, I know they're people who found a problem and they created a solution to it, and it sounds like that's precisely what you did. So best of luck to you, sir. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's amazing.
Appreciate it.
Is there an app similar to this?
There are, like on CoinMarketCap, they'll have like a sidebar where people can comment about what they're thinking, and then it'll rate how positive those comments are. There might be something else about Twitter specifically, but like a lot of new innovation will kind of start in Telegram, Discord, and Twitter before it makes it onto, you know, like more reputable news outlets that are going to talk about it. And so it's an attempt at kind of having your ear to the ground and getting like some early hints of what to research. But I really don't want to be another person that is causing people to buy into things that they don't know much about. So I want this app to be something that can be a jumping off point and then can help people to do good research so they're really sure about what they're buying before they're just getting involved in the FOMO of crypto, because it can happen, and it can happen with investing in stocks too. Like any investing can turn into day trading, which can turn into leverage future trading where you're borrowing money to buy, like you're buying something with borrowed money, and it's just like can get very, very risky very quickly, and it just becomes gambling at that point. So
This is an amazing idea. I'm surprised you never told me. I mean, I'm sure you're waiting to launch
I never thought I was gonna finish it. Like honestly, I think it was probably July. I basically scrapped everything that I had because it was too complex.
I can
And
see this on Shark Tank. It's like that. It's that good of an idea. I'm so serious.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Have you patented it yet?
No, it's like brand new. Yeah, I got it. I didn't
Dang,
even
might
know
have to-
that process. So
Might
yeah.
have to clip that then.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Justin, as a consumer probably for your app, and I say this because just last night, I've been investing semi-heavily into a specific coin, and it was pretty much based off just the hype, based off what other greater people with greater knowledge in the space were saying. And just last night, I watched like a long format video on the utility of that specific product / coin, and it's almost like people are betting on speculation, like they're trying to become early adopters of it before it becomes something great. So like there's totally a chance that, say, a certain regulation or something doesn't get passed and it goes to nothing, and like there's a great risk in that. And I was just like, oh, okay, so I almost am just like betting, you know. But that's, and I don't say that in a negative way, because we always have to bet on ourselves, and sometimes we just have to use our discernment in certain situations. But I definitely be a customer for your app. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's like anything investing, like this is just what I've learned about investing over time, is that if you want to chase really big gains and you want to be early, you're going to be investing in a concept that's not real yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're always going to be to some point, to some extent in investing, you're betting on the future. And so
Is Bitcoin past the concept stage? Like, is that
yeah, Bitcoin
Okay.
is like Bitcoin is
hence the
just
$100,000
moving into-
price?
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's well, there's some things that are happening with. There's a cyclical thing that happens with crypto in general every 4 years, but I can give you more information on that if you want. But
Sure.
basically, Bitcoin is just getting to the point where it's starting to reach its utility, which is being, well, I think people are settling on it as kind of like a replacement for gold, like a place to store your value, your wealth.
Wow.
But a lot of these crypto projects are not, they're just theories. Like they work, but there's not really an ecosystem that exists where they're going to work in. It's not like Uber exists in a world where we already have taxis. But Uber, it kind of disrupted that industry, but it was an existing industry. Some of these crypto projects, they're trying to solve problems that don't even exist yet.
Wow.
And so there's like a lot of, like you just kind of have to go in eyes wide open that never risk anything you're not willing to lose, and try to do your research and figure out who's behind it, who's backing it, what's their track record, all these different. So it's like, that's what I want the app to eventually be, is to be a really like a coach to teach people how to be smart and careful in this space, because I think it has a big future, but I think there's a lot of hype that will disappear along the way, which is with anything.
Yeah. Well, coming to the midway point / end of this podcast, I wanted to ask all three of us, like 3 rituals or habits, as I'd consider us all pretty high performing people who just don't have that off switch, things that we do daily to keep us going. I'll start with you, Justin.
As far as what is it that fuels me to keep going?
Yeah, top 3 rituals or habits, things that you do. Like, for example, for me, the gym, church, and mindset is like a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of redefining that for myself.
Wow.
I think right now it's basically just been, I'm trying to finish. Like finish is like a big word for me, because I do get to the point where I'm about to finish something I've been working on, and then I kind of shelf it, and I don't push through to the other side because I'm afraid of that. And so for me, it's just spending a lot of time journaling about all of these things that I've been talking about. Like, why am I doing or not doing the things that I'm doing? And for me, writing that out is really helpful. To be like, what? Just self-reflection. So I think like regular journaling is one of my big rituals. And then trying to, right now, for me, it's still prayer. I don't really have as clear of a picture of who God is, like who I'm praying to, as I used to. But I'm trying to find a higher power, or I'm trying to find God and understand what he wants from my life. And those are kind of like 2 pillars. And then like continued education, just like continually trying to deepen, again, not being a dabbler, like mastery, picking the things. We all only have a short amount of time on this earth. I want to be a master of few instead of a novice at many. So just like continued education, and probably be the third.
Yeah, no, there's no finish line, right?
Yeah.
What about you?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what are your like top 3 values or habits / rituals that you try to implement, like use daily, to keep yourself in your own version of success?
Fitness is definitely one of them. Staying consistent with one thing is good, instead of just saying like I'm going to do jiu-jitsu, go twice, and then never come back. Staying with the gym. I would just say I wake up every day with a lot of energy. I'm never really lazy, and I just try to just master the day every day. And I beat myself up every day, which could be a bad skill, but also a good skill. It just wasting time. If I don't buy a car, sell a car, and go to the gym and jiu-jitsu in one day, my brain tells me I didn't do enough. But I get really excited when I do at least 3 of those in one day. If I can do the gym, jujitsu, and sell a car or buy a car, I am super like satisfied with myself. But if I don't do at least 3 of those, I get pretty negative headspace.
Yeah.
So I try to master all those in one day. Like after this, I want to go to the gym. I'll probably get back to work just looking for cars, trying to sell cars, reposting, and stuff like that. Just staying. I do that every day, just trying to stay consistent, not lazy, not get stuck at home, not like we don't even have hours, you know, me and you both. So just try not to be here and just be out doing things that are like worth it, not just playing the new Call of Duty 6 and
I know.
being lazy. But I think I was blessed with the skill of not wanting to be lazy. I can't sit still. I can't like be bored. I wish I had that. Like sometimes it's more relaxing, you know. I think that's also a part of me being completely stone cold sober, just not having that chill moment. Even it's hard to go to sleep for me most nights. Like almost my whole life, I've had the issue where my brain just never turns off.
You remind me of Elon Musk talking about his brain, just like, man, I wish the thoughts would stop coming, but they don't. I can't sleep. But yeah, I know we all have like a blueprint, and I think this is something Tony Robbins talked about. We all have a blueprint of how we think our lives are supposed to be. And once you really have that figured out and you know what it's supposed to be, when you're not aligning with those values or living them out, sometimes you can catch yourself in a negative headspace, which is why I think when you say you like sell a car in a day, you go to the gym twice, and whatever else that you feel accomplished and good is because you're aligning with those values and blueprints. And I think it's really clear to get a good understanding of what your blueprint is, what you want for your life. And when you're able to align with those, you catch yourself being able to get out of those negative headspaces a lot of the times. And sometimes you don't even know that you have a blueprint. So that was something that helped me, and that's something that just came to my mind when you were talking about that.
Well, I think the only way to be successful at anything in life, it could be fitness, could be your job, could be a hobby, is consistency. And for me, like if I skip one day of the gym, I think I'm losing muscle or I'm like just losing. And then it kind of turns down to like rolling down a hill. Like I think if I don't go to the gym tomorrow, I won't want to go the next day, then the next day, then you fall into this pattern of like, okay, I don't want to go. Then you go, then you're more tired. So if you never stop trying to do that one thing that you're trying to accomplish, you're always going to be motivated to keep doing it. So like if I don't want to look at cars today, tomorrow I'm not going to want to either. And then it's just going to fall down this pattern of me getting lazy and like losing that like drive, I would say. So like, and like we both want to master jiu-jitsu. We miss one day or we're backtracked one day because we don't know like what we're doing on this week's module. So for me, it's just like, that's why I beat myself up because I want to get great at all 4 of those things I said, is selling, buying, and fitness. And to get there, I have to never really stop doing it.
Yeah, that's good. I wrote this down for all of us too, and I'll start with you again, Justin. If you could go back in time and you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be, if anything?
Last year, 2023, I think, I ran Hood to Coast for the first time. And on the last, I had 3 legs that I ran. And on the last leg, it's like you're kind of sleep deprived, and it's like this thing where you're literally with this crew of people that are running these legs all the way to the coast for like 24 hours.
What is it?
Hood to Coast. It's like a relay race where you sign up with a group of friends. I just got kind of sucked into a group that I didn't really know super well. But each one of you takes, starting at Mount Hood, you run to the beach. And each one of you takes like 3, 5 to 8 mile runs. And you do your run, jump back in the van, the next person gets out and does their run, meets you at the van. So you're like leapfrogging all the way to the beach.
From Mount Hood?
From Mount Hood, from Timberline.
Jeez, that's far. It's not a close.
Far. Some people are crazy. Like there was
It's David Goggins stuff.
Yeah, well, this is not
Well,
quite as intense, but
that'd be weak to him. But yeah.
Well, yeah, like there was. Anyway, it's a cool experience, but you're very sleep deprived by the end of it because you're just in the van all night, going to the next checkpoint and waiting for your next turn to race or to run. And on the third run, it's like 6 in the morning when I did my third run. We'd been going since like noon the previous day. And
Are you sleeping in the van?
Yeah, if you can.
If you can.
You don't get. Oh, we did stop at one point to take like an hour nap in this tent city sponsored by Toyota in this field, just a field of tents.
Huh.
You can just rent a tent, lay in it for like an hour, and then get up and get back in the van. But anyway, so like I was on probably 30 minutes of sleep, running this like 5 mile run on the coast and these beautiful like winding roads. Anyway, I tell you all that to tell you like I was thinking about, just because of the emotional nature of the thing, and I was thinking about myself as a kid, and I realized that I've always sort of had this like negative image of myself as a kid, like weak, like made of glass, like that. And I like took a moment to pretend that kid was like running next to me. And I was like kind of having a conversation with my kid self.
Wow.
And it was like a really big turning point for me to do that at that moment, because I was like, if kid me was really here running next to 33-year-old me, I would probably say to him like, I'm you're gonna turn out fine. And I'm not ashamed of you. Like I don't think that you're, I don't think you're weak. I don't think that you're not meaning, like, that I don't think you're worthless. Like, and I think that would have meant a lot to me as a kid to hear my future self say that to me.
Wow.
And I felt like it was almost like, I don't know, your inner child or whatever was just like, I felt a little bit more peace that I hadn't felt in a while, because I had like forgiven, or not forgiven, that's like, because I was a little kid, like I didn't have anything to, I don't know how to, like I had let myself know that I was a good kid, like I was not weak, or I was weak, but it was okay, like that. I think that's what I would say, and that's what I kind of did say in a weird way.
Yeah, no, that's totally beautiful. And listening to you speak, it makes me like totally question like what I would say to myself. I thought initially like I had the answer to that question, but it makes me ponder it a little bit more for myself. What I would say, I think if I could do it, I'd just keep it really, really simple. If you go back in time, it'd be such a profound experience. Whatever you say, it would just totally leave your younger self pondering. But I think I'd just tell myself, like, you're going to do great things, you know, just something small like that. But yeah, I resonate a lot with your story, and I think I'd probably have very, very similar conversations to what you had for sure, you know. What about you, Dylan?
I think,
Yeah, it's a tough one.
yeah, I would probably just, tell myself like the grass is greener on the other side, and, it may suck right now, but it's going to be great. So I would have told myself to get started sooner, probably. But I think the past me would be insanely obsessed with the new me on how, like, my life has turned out, just because I used to want everything that I have today, and now I'm just like, what's next? But I think if I saw like my 16-year-old self today, I think I would think that guy's a shit because he has everything. And I don't want to sound like egotistic, but I wanted so much growing up, but just didn't know how to get there. And I thought like the human in us just thinks, we just doubt, we just like can't do that, can't get there, can't get those things we want. But I've learned to figure out in life, like, everything is doable, and everything is like, it's not I can't get that, it's how do I get that in life. It could be an achievement, it can be an item you want, it can be the house you want, the car you want. For me, it was just to get financial freedom, and I think I'm there, which is pretty cool for the age I'm at, and that's all I've been chasing. So it's just exciting to do that. But I would have told my younger self to do it sooner.
Yeah, that's great.
I think any adult says that. That's what our parents tell us. That's what our grandparents probably have told us, like, start young, or I wish I would have done this before. But, we all have to learn somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, for like a closing segment before we wrap up, I want to do like a few like kind of rapid fire questions, totally random and off topic. Justin, I'll start with you again. And I don't know if you've read these yet, so some of them might be a little bit of a surprise to you. But first one I got is, are you a morning or night person?
This is something I've had to come to terms with. I've always seen successful people are morning people, but I work better at night. So I am more of a night person, and I work every night. I've worked every night on my app for several years after everyone goes to bed, and that's just when I'm able to do it. But I've actually kind of also I ran the Portland Marathon a couple months back in September or October. And the only time that I can run is in the morning, so I'm kind of a morning and a night person now. Just I run in the mornings and I work at night, and I've actually kind of like started to like both.
Yeah, no, there's a great workouts for like 3 to 4 hours, just like pushing myself to the limit with my gym partner Luis. And it's like, just when you go outside, it's just quieter, the air tastes different, and you just think different. It's almost like you're more clear-headed, and it's probably because you haven't had a lot of action happen. You haven't really been on your phone or had conversations yet, so that's pretty beautiful. But also lately at nighttime, I've been taking my dog out on walks when there's not a lot of cars or people, and it's pretty similar. And I'm also able to reflect on the day, which sometimes in the morning it's just so new. For me, it's just better to reflect at night and just think and talk with God and think about things like that. So what about you, Dylan?
I try to be a morning person. I'm not really someone that sleeps in though, which is a good habit, but for medical reasons, I can't really get up too early, but if I could, I would probably be like a 5 or 6 a.m. person, just because there's so much to do in a day, and I never have enough time in the day. And I think our day reflects on the daytime, not like nighttime, at least for me. So I would definitely say I'm more of a morning person. And when like a few months ago, I was going to bed at like 9 p.m. and getting up at like 6 to 7, typically 6. That's when my body would naturally wake up, and I'd have so much energy and just want to like master it and go to the gym, or I could just get more caught up on work-related stuff. So I'd say definitely a morning person.
Okay. Next rapid fire question. Again, I'll start with you, Justin. Favorite hobby currently?
I haven't had a lot of time for hobbies. I mean, playing with my kids it's one of those things where sometimes it's just mind-numbing and boring because they're so much younger than you that you can't really have like a conversation on the same level. But like they're getting into singing and dancing. So like my little girl loves just jumping. So they're both always just like jumping up and down. And my wife actually got a little trampoline. They do these little like trampoline workout videos on YouTube.
Yeah. That's great.
So like playing with them is like probably the thing that I do to like decompress. But like mostly I work I'm training for the Eugene Marathon, kind of put that on hold to sprint at the last couple weeks of this app, but like I'll running and working on the app. And then when I can, I want to get back into jiu-jitsu, but
yeah. Oh wow. I didn't. It seems like we all have something in common. That's pretty cool.
I got obsessed with jiu-jitsu, and then I kind of had to put it on pause for a while. So there's just like too many things that I want to do, but like you guys, same thing, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to dive a lot more into jiu-jitsu, but I definitely want to be respectful of time here, maybe for another time or another day. Yeah. For me right now, jiu-jitsu, that's one of my biggest ones. I've been doing it for about half a year, 7 months. I signed up the same day with Dylan.
Nice.
Totally fallen in love with it, man. It's just like a massive puzzle. It's so different.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm a boxer by trade. I've been boxing for about 3 years. I've competed in the amateurs and stuff, and my end goal is to be a full mixed martial artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm totally obsessed with the UFC and that sort of thing. So
cool.
It's my thing right now.
Nice.
I'm definitely on jiu-jitsu too. That's just like our biggest thing right now. Me and Harrison like just wake up every day like let's go. The this is like our off days right now because we usually go Monday through Thursday. But it's like you said, it's like learning it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle, and it's trying to figure out which pieces go where. And we both beat ourselves up thinking we suck right now, but I think we've learned a lot in the time. And I think this is like, out of all the martial arts sports, I think I can't be just talking about this, but I think it's the hardest one just because you're really learning so many different moves, techniques, and I don't think anyone gets good in less than a year or two. I think I'll probably be more better at 2 years. But we're on our second fundamentals term, which is cool because I think some people might give up at the first one.
Yeah.
But just not giving up, like I said,
Consistency.
until we're just in the all levels section, just going crazy.
Yeah.
Because we spar with the all levels after class once in a while, and we're both just like, man, like I just want to get to that point so bad and win a submission.
Yeah.
But I have too many hobbies to really go into. Most of them are in the winter though, or backwards, summer. Riding motorcycles, quadding, and
You like the jet skis and
boats.
too, yeah.
I think my favorite place to be in the summer is the boat. It's just on the water. It's
Can't
fun.
beat it.
It's chill.
Yeah.
The vitamin D is great,
Yeah.
and it's just a vibe for sure.
Final rapid fire question. What is your favorite food or favorite thing to cook? I'll start with you, Justin.
Oh man, I really so I lived in Mexico for a couple of years, and I had a friend teach me how to make homemade tortillas. So those
For the corn or flour?
Flour.
Ooh.
And they're they're very good with. Sometimes you can just put salt on them and roll them up, and they're delicious. So that's probably one of my favorite things to eat, and it's just like a multiplier. Whenever you're eating anything, you can always just like throw tortillas in. I feel like just get yourself full.
Yeah, lately we had our old roommates move out, and I told Dylan I'd pick up the chore they were doing of doing the dishes and being in the kitchen more. And I did that because I wanted to start cooking a lot more because I eat out 90% of the time. And lately I've been keeping it pretty simple. I've just been doing a steak with some greens. And I find a lot of fun in doing that. I'm really passionate about cooking, and I love cooking for other people too. Since I was 15, I've worked in food service jobs. I was general manager of Wendy's for a little bit. I was a chef for Panda Express. It goes on and on, but maybe that's where it comes from. But yeah, I love cooking a lot.
I'll just be the average guy and just say steak for sure.
Yeah.
Just high in protein. You're always full. I always struggle. I always hate when I eat somewhere or even eat at home when I'm still hungry. I think steak's super filling and it's just super high in protein. And it raises your testosterone, which is also super good for all men.
Yeah.
So I had a steak last night at Ruth Chris. It was amazing.
Dang.
Nice. Yeah, no, not beef or buttery steaks are pretty good, but yeah, looks like we're coming to the end of this podcast. I wanted to thank you, Justin, for being on this podcast so much. I think it's totally God ordained that you came here. We couldn't have had a better guest. You definitely have a gift for speaking. You've made this really easy for us to conversate. Your stories were super impactful for myself, and I hope for the listeners too. And I just hope people resonate with your message. And yeah, I can't be more grateful. Anything
Appreciate
you want to touch on, Dylan?
No, this is just a new journey for the new podcast we're going to be doing and figuring out the next few things we're going to add to this.
Yeah, I'm excited to follow you guys' trajectory with it.
On the topic of follow, please don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, share it with people if you think this message would resonate with someone else or be impactful. We love you guys so much. If you listen to the very end, we appreciate it a lot. We're going to do our very best to get the highest quality guests and to work on our speeches. So keep you guys intrigued and become the very best podcasters we can and continue getting out the good news. So we love you guys, and thanks for listening.